Remember the Wii U? This much maligned console has its diehard fans, myself being one of them. It may not have been the most popular Nintendo console to date, but it did feature an extremely good Mario game, Super Mario 3D World. Only problem was, not a ton of people actually got the chance to play it in comparison to the current fan base that owns a Nintendo Switch. Fortunately, the game has been given a remaster/port treatment and brought over to the Switch just a few days ago. Now, I was surprised by the difficulty and delighted by the charm the first time I completed this game. I'm happy to say Super Mario 3D World holds up extremely well on a different console, with some smart features that make sense for a Switch port. But this new version also adds something totally unique. A spin-off game called Bowser's Fury that, for me, signifies the potential future of 3D Mario titles. Hey everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Completionist New Game Plus, the show where I am recompleting the first 120 games I ever featured here on the channel. More on that in the box down below. Speaking of boxes and your support and awful bad transitions, a big shout out to patreon.com/thecompletionist, mostly because for those of you who subscribed for a quarter or more in the higher tiers, you got access to a free poster that looks like this. Now, this poster right here in my hand is not what you got if you were on the Patreon because it came in a different color. If you want to pick up this right here, and you're not on the Patreon, you can head over to thecompletionist.com today and pick one up. This is a poster that celebrates the last few months of the Completionist in terms of games we've completed, jokes we've made, so on and so forth. So again, if you want to pick one of these guys back up, or pick one of these up, you can head over to thecompletionist.com and get one today. Now, on to the game at hand, Super Mario 3D World. Here's the deal. I love this game. It's one of my favorite games I ever played on the Nintendo Wii U. It's a game that I really thought no one got to enjoy, and I'm so happy that it's out now on the Nintendo Switch for all of you guys to enjoy. More importantly, this game was one of the early markings of my relationship with Nintendo. And it just seems so appropriate because they, hashtag free product, hashtag not an ad, hashtag I was not paid to say this, but I'm clarifying as best I can. They gave me the game early. And that means a lot because I haven't gotten a game early since Super Mario Odyssey. With that said, I'm very excited for Super Mario 3D World, not because it's one of my favorite Mario games of all time, but there's new features like multiplayer online, there's amiibo support, faster gameplay, and there's another game inside of here in the form of Bowser's Fury. So with that said, let's recomplete Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. We're gonna recomplete Mario 3D World and then complete Bowser's Fury because it wasn't out before. Let's begin. I've talked enough. For as long as there have been Nintendo systems, there have been Mario games. Now, not every Nintendo home console launched with the Mario game, and not every Mario game was a launch title. But it is undeniable that the success of any given Mario game is dependent on the success of the console it launched on. It might seem like an obvious thing to say, but even if a game is fantastic, popularity is easily swayed by its platform. Super Mario 3D World is one such casualty. Now, I'm convinced that if Super Mario 3D World were a launch title for the Nintendo Wii U, and the Wii U wasn't called the Wii U, the story of that system and how the game is viewed would be a very different one. The first three Nintendo home consoles launched with Mario games, and those games are heralded as some of the most legendary in history. Super Mario 3D World should have been the flagship Wii U Mario title. Instead, this game got buried behind New Super Mario Bros. U, which came out the year before 3D World. When I first completed it, I thought Super Mario 3D World blew New Super Mario Bros. U out of the water, and I love New Super Mario Bros. U. And thanks to a recent financial report, we now know that the Switch has almost sold 4 times as many units as the Wii U ever did. That means that this recent Switch port gives more people than ever the chance to play this unsung hero of a Mario game. I loved talking about this game when it came out. Every now and then I get to complete a game that I want to do that's brand new, and this one fit the bill perfectly. At the time, it was billed as the next step in 3D Mario. I found it to be a passionate love letter to Mario as a series, and this is in 2013, years before Mario Odyssey blew all of us away again. 3D World is much more than just a console version of the 3DS's Super Mario 3D Land. This game reminded me why I love 3D Mario games yet again. I thought it was aesthetically gorgeous. One of my favorite looking and sounding Mario games to date. Everything about it is charming and smile-inducing. And though I found the completion process a little maddening, I still gave the game my now retired rating of Finapedit. The story in 3D World does things a little differently, making it slightly more compelling than the average Mario title. Mario and pals aren't teaming up to rescue Peach from Bowser this time around. In fact, 3D World calls back to Super Mario Bros. 2 by letting players control Peach and Toad as playable characters. Don't get me wrong, Bowser is still kidnapping, but this time, it's Sprixies, adorable little fairy folk. Mario, Luigi, Peach, and Toad chase Bowser to the Sprixie Kingdom to save the 7 Sprixies and defeat Bowser once again until they eventually play a sport or a kart racing game. So the real draw of any Mario game is the gameplay. Super Mario 3D World is a return to form for 3D platformers from the character who basically originated the genre, but also combines this 2D element via level design and objectives. Players choose a character and jump, dash, float, and flutter through dozens of differently themed stages and worlds. On their way to the flagpole that ends each stage, there are collectibles to find. Mainly 3 green stars and stamps. But 3D World also breaks up the action from just 3D platforming. With mystery houses and Captain Toad levels, there's plenty to do. It's still a Mario game, but with plenty of fresh elements sprinkled throughout. I found the original game pretty easy to blast through at first, but the difficulty steadily ramps up, and the last couple of worlds felt like a final exam for everything I had learned from Mario games up until that point. I found that 3D World pushed me more and more the longer it went on, with the final worlds requiring me to use hundreds of stockpiled lives to figure out a way through. It's been almost 8 years since the original release of Super Mario 3D World. Looking back, the game felt truly innovative. Now that it's on Switch, this game can finally get the attention I feel it deserves. I've always thought that Super Mario 3D World was low-key one of the best games no one ever played. Completing it again, I realized a bunch of things. The game is both better than I remember due to some mechanical improvements made for the Switch version, and it also reminded me of why I want to make content online. Recompleting Super Mario 3D World made me excited to create. And although this game is largely the same as the original Wii U version, I've changed a lot since then, resulting in a far easier completion process than I anticipated. But let me back up real quick, because there is a lot about 3D World that gets me excited on the video game side. As I recompleted this game, several things sprang to mind. I think the visuals here are some of the best in the Mario series. Definitely in the upper echelon. The music is phenomenal, still a highlight after all of these years. And the Katsu alone makes the case for being one of my favorite power-ups in the Mario game, for the utility it adds to the gameplay. Now I know I just said this, but I cannot praise the music enough. Longtime series composer Koji Kondo actually took a back seat during the music production during 3D World, with Super Mario Galaxy composer Mahito Yokota taking the lead. The first time I played this game, I was struck at how little classic Mario music was reused. Most of it was new for 3D World. The jazzy, big band-inspired soundtrack remains one of my favorite things to return to. In fact, I can draw a straight line from my band, Big Bad Bosses, to this game's soundtrack. The theme for World Bowser, one of the toughest areas in 3D World towards the end of the game, is full of swagger and boldness that I've always associated with Bowser. That track alone was the true inspiration for what drove me forward to creating Big Bad Bosses with Jake Kaufman, which spawned the boy band album that you all know today that you hopefully have via Spotify or iTunes, Google Play, buy it please. This game has hands down some of the funkiest tunes in Mario history. The quality of life updates for the Switch version are subtle, yet game-changing. Most significant is that the movement speed in general is increased by a little bit, not by a lot, but enough, especially if you put a ton of time into the Wii U version. It is a little noticeable and makes the game feel a little more modern, combined with the fact that my skills have been honed since the original release of this game, and I found that completion was much easier this time around. I was still doing the same stuff, finding 3 green stars and a stamp on every main stage, completing mystery house challenges and Captain Toad puzzles, and completing every stage by reaching the top of every flagpole with every character in the game. But it was a pleasure to do so. Speaking of Captain Toad, 3D World was actually the introduction of Captain Toad as a playable character, but Captain Toad Treasure Tracker was ported to Switch before 3D World was. So there's probably a ton of people who've played that game before they experienced these levels. I love their implementation into this game, and the Switch version is definitely the definitive way to play these levels. The Wii U gamepad was difficult at times, but with the Switch, you can just use your controller. The camera is a lot easier to control in this version, and with the increased movement speed, it's just generally better all around. The Captain Toad portions of this game aren't nearly as intricate as the full version, but I love that Captain Toad is involved here, and these short diorama-like stages are a great way to break up the platforming levels. One of my favorite features of the original version was that I could choose who I wanted to play as, resulting in pretty different experiences across all worlds and stages. This time through, completion was made easier because I knew exactly how to make the most of each character's strengths and weaknesses. By using Peach and her floating ability, or Luigi and his high jump, I was able to hit the top of the flagpole without even trying sometimes. What I'm trying to say is that I hate playing as Toad, because man, that dude can barely jump compared to the rest of the playable characters in this game. And even though he's not my favorite character, I still didn't have much trouble beating every level with every character. This is partly due to the drop-in drop-out co-op mechanic that was used in the original Wii U version that still is here on Switch. I could essentially summon a second player with another Joy-Con or controller and then pick up that character and carry them to the flagpole. Touching the top of a flagpole and holding another character counts as completion for both of the characters, which cuts completion time for the game down quite a lot. There may be a ton to do completion-wise, but I felt so much more prepared this time around. Mainly, I knew better how to take full advantage of the Tanuki suit and the cat bell. In my original playthrough, I would often have to replay stages multiple times to find every collectible. This time around, I was able to snag almost every green star and stamp my first or second time through the stage because my Mario literacy is through the roof now. I could basically read what every stage wanted me to do to find secrets, and if I couldn't figure it out the right way, I usually had a cat bell or Tanuki suit stored away as insurance. Completing this game gave me a sense of satisfaction because I felt like I had grown. So the photo mode that replaces the Miiverse functionality is really good. In fact, both 3D World and Bowser's Fury are designed around photo mode. 3D World has some of the most vibrant art direction of any Mario game, and it was a clear inspiration for Odyssey. With the photo mode and the way the collectible stamps are used, it feels like a chance to celebrate how this game looks even more. There's one more new feature that I thought was going to be bad, but turned out to be incredible. I can't believe I'm about to say this. Online functionality. Now, the Wii U version did not have any online multiplayer. The Switch does. And when I played this game with Kit and Krista from Nintendo Minute and Andre from Black Nerd Comedy, it truly felt like we were in the same room together. Let me repeat that. It felt like I was playing a cooperative game on Nintendo Switch Online in the same room together during a pandemic. It was chaotic fun and a welcome change for a Nintendo game to have a smooth online experience. Now, full disclosure, I had the chance to play online in a bubble before the servers were fully publicly available, since I experienced the game early. If Nintendo can keep the online support for this game as strong as it was when I played it, then the future is going to be very bright for future Nintendo titles. But they have a lot of work to do until then. In fact, once the game was made public, I realized something that saved me a bunch of time. So first things first, in the original episode, I actually made a huge mistake. And I think I repeated my mistake here in this episode too. So I'm here to clear the air right now. I claim that you have to touch the top of every flagpole with every character in order to complete the game. You don't. You need to touch the top of every flagpole with one character. It doesn't need to be all on one character, just the fact that you have to touch the very top of every flagpole in the game. But from there, if the host player decides to invite 3 friends to play with them, you and some friends can do a whole clear of the game with all 5 characters. With me and my Twitch mods, we cleared the entire game speedrun style in about 3.5 hours. That was after the fact that I got all the green stars and I got all the stamps. So we were clearly just rushing to get to the end of every single stage. This saved me so much time compared to last time when I had to have a friend over or I had to turn on my Wiimotes and touch the flag at the exact same time. So shouts to my mods for helping me complete this game. And of course, there's the invincibility leaf situation. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, if you lose enough lives on a level in Mario games nowadays, eventually this golden item box will spawn. And if players pick up the leaf, it essentially locks you out of true completion. It's a great feature for less experienced or easily frustrated Mario players, or people who just want to blast through any given level. But the game doesn't tell you that using this item closes the true completion door in your face. This is a Nintendo trend at this point. Seems like there's always something that the game never tells you about that if you do, hurts completionists. They did this in Super Mario 3D Land for the 3DS, which was way worse over there, and last summer's Paper Mario The Origami King. Stuff I wouldn't mind so much if they had just mentioned it beforehand. But at least I'd already completed 3D World, so I knew about these hurdles way in advance. To get a little nostalgic here, completing 3D World again reminded me of when I was starting out on my YouTube career. This was one of my favorite Nintendo opportunities to cover the game early in the personal style that I have, and it led to a wonderful relationship. But beyond the professional stuff, I was just utterly charmed by everything in this game. Completing it again, I was reminded of that charm and the excitement that comes from playing something crafted with true passion. Alright, enough about the old stuff. It's time to talk about the big new thing included in the Switch version of Super Mario 3D World. A whole other game called Bowser's Fury. Now, it might seem short to some, but it is dense. Bowser's Fury channels charm and smart design choices to present what could be the future of 3D Mario games, or rather what the current state is via Mario Odyssey and how design philosophies could continue in a new direction. When Bowser's Fury was first teased, fans went crazy trying to figure out just what it was exactly. Was it an added world to the original game? A new game plus of sorts? It's something in between. Bowser's Fury is an open world Mario full of new things to collect and areas to explore. It feels like one very, very large Mario Odyssey style level. Big enough to hide a ton of secrets, but still compact in that it doesn't take a long time to go from one corner to the next. This game is also playable from the very second you boot up the game. To me, Bowser's Fury feels like the Mario Odyssey DLC that we never got. Gameplay is as if Mario Odyssey and 3D World had a baby, with freedom of exploration and mini missions that characterize Odyssey, but with the mechanics and power-ups of 3D World. It's a joyous combination of the two. There's even a whole new story to kick things off. For once, Bowser Jr. needs Mario's help. Bowser, the villain that we've all come to know and love over several different games, has been corrupted. For the first time ever, Bowser is truly terrifying, and Bowser Jr. just wants his dad back. Mario and Bowser Jr. must find Cat Shine spread throughout Lake Lapcat and use the power of the Golden Gigabell to shine a light and restore Big Bow back to how he once was. The first time I played Super Mario 3D World, I said it was a love letter to what came before. Bowser's Fury rekindles a similar feeling to me. The world feels about 3 or 4 times the size of a Mario Odyssey level, and it's all seamlessly connected. There are discrete little islands and zones full of micro missions to complete all over the lake, and I dearly hope that future 3D Mario games draw from what this game establishes. Bowser's Fury takes the cute charm of 3D World and cranks it up to 11. Like the Katsu power-up in 3D World? Well, how about an entire cat-themed paradise? There are seagulls with cat ears. I'd be running through Bowser's Fury and literally have to stop because I was laughing at a seagull with cat ears. This feels like an ever-escalating bit in the best way. Like someone in R&D at Nintendo was like, what if we put cat ears on Boom Boom? And then someone else slammed a table and said, what if we put cat ears on everything? I hope Nintendo keeps trying to top themselves in future games, because the way they do it here is wonderful. I thought I knew what to expect as I started Bowser's Fury, but the game surprised me constantly. The looming doom of Bowser and his presence really affected me. My first thought upon seeing Calamity Bowser, or Fury Bowser, whatever he's called, was that there will never be anything as evil looking as this in a Mario game ever again. It's a great twist for the character. We might not see this exact Bowser ever again, but I think we'll see Nintendo drawing on their history to make unexpected changes going forward. The game also has some gameplay tweaks that I did not see coming, mainly the way that Bowser Jr. is implemented in the game. It's surprisingly great. A second controller can control him, but he can also be controlled by AI, and this completely changes the game. I could choose whether Bowser Jr. would help me a little or a lot. When he's helping me a lot, he's basically in hunter-killer mode, bashing enemies with a paintbrush and helping uncover power-ups that I could store for later use. This was especially helpful during the completion journey, as he would pretty much protect me from harm as I went after the cat shines. But he's still bratty Bowser Jr., and his sass and aggressive personality shines through. If an enemy hits Mario, Bowser Jr. chuckles to himself. I hope Nintendo keeps fleshing out side characters like this. There's also a buttload of new elements. Shadow Luigi, anyone? Seeing Mario's brother pop up in shadow form was a shock and felt yet like another innovative look ahead. It's also one more little nod to Super Mario Sunshine. Whenever Shadow Luigi would pop up, I had to chase him down to grab a cat shine from him. He felt designed to specifically distract me from whatever I was doing, but it always led to something new and interesting. Probably the most significant change in Bowser's Fury makes it so that it gives Mario an inventory of sorts. Now, up to this point, Mario's been able to store up to 1 power-up for some time, but Bowser's Fury lets me hold on to 5 of each power-up, and I can swap between them whenever I want it. This might seem like a small change, but it makes exploration totally different. Whenever I needed it, I could pull out a cat bell, turn into a cat, and climb a wall. If I stumbled into an area full of cat-eared Magic Koopas, I could pull out the boomerang and be good to go. Being able to reach into Mario's bag of tricks and get what I needed feels revolutionary in a way that I didn't expect. There's never been anything quite like this before in a Mario game. In the same way that the open world of Mario Odyssey felt like a turning point, giving Mario an extended inventory is a thing that I hope continues for future Mario titles. And at first, it seemed like having a full bag of power-ups would make the game seem too easy. That quickly changed the first time the rain started pouring down and Godzilla Bowser reared his gigantic head. I rarely associate panic with Mario, but every time Bowser appeared, things got crazy. It turns out I needed all those power-ups after all just to survive. When I wasn't dodging out of Bowser's way, I was doing my best to lure him over to another new element, Bowser blocks. These blocks are unbreakable by Mario, but it was absolutely necessary to destroy them to gather cat shines or power-ups inside them. Fortunately, Bowser's fire blasts can break them. It was extremely enjoyable to find the balance of scampering out of the way of Bowser's wrath and using his attacks to unlock what I needed. Putting Bowser on a timer like the Blood Moon from Breath of the Wild is a stroke of genius. If I was in the middle of a difficult jumping section and it started to drizzle, I knew I had to hurry the hell up or I would be in big trouble. Rarely has a Mario game made me feel this way. There is always something new to do at any point on the map, and sometimes running away from one spot would lead me to something in a different area. Bowser's Fury was constantly pushing me beyond my limits to see something different. The journey to complete Bowser's Fury is a surprisingly short one. Much like Power Moons in Mario Odyssey, I was finding cat shines all over the dang place, pushing me closer and closer to my final confrontation with the goop corrupted Bowser. Every time I found a shine when Bowser was trying to kill me, a beam of light weakened him just a little bit and he would leave me alone for a little while. Eventually, I found enough cat shines to power up the Giga Bell, which gives Mario a chance to crib Supersonic style as the Golden Giga Cat Mario. These titanic battles felt really unique and were a fresh take on the standard Mario boss fight, even though it takes 3 hits to kill, as always almost. Unlike Super Mario 3D World, the difficulty of Bowser's Fury is a little more consistent. Different parts of the map and the discrete challenges associated with them are unlocked by finding more cat shines and defeating Giant Bowser in battle. Mario and Bowser Jr. can basically go explore anywhere they want with the help of the aquatic dino Plessie. The best thing about Plessie is that it's essentially a fast travel mechanic in a gigantic sea of water. If you ever get lost, Plessie is there to save you. After about 50 or so cat shines, the game essentially forces you into the final boss fight. But once that was over, I was free to continue exploring and gathering cat shines until all was said and done. Because honestly, that's all there is to do to complete Bowser's Fury, collect all 100 cat shines. Seems like a little compared to other Mario titles, but still feels just as satisfying. When Super Mario 3D World came out, it broke the mold. Now, new players have the chance to see how charming and just how freaking tight the game is. Bowser's Fury breaks the mold too. It's the Mario Odyssey DLC that never existed, but could herald much more involved Mario mechanics in the future. Or hey, maybe it's just another weird spin-off and I'm totally wrong. Either way, it's a worthy experiment that totally deserves to be celebrated and played all the way through. Even if completion bonuses leave a little bit more to be desired, Bowser's Fury is a total success. As 3D platformers, both Super Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury have a ton of collectibles to find. For both games, the rewards for doing every little thing seem minimal, but the fact that the journey to completion is acknowledged at all is still a very nice feeling. Battling Count Bowser, or Meowser to some, and seeing the credits unlocks a few things. First up, you unlock Luigi Bros, which is the original Mario Brothers game starring Luigi. Why Luigi? Because this game has a ton of references to Luigi in order to celebrate the year at the time, the year of Luigi. But unlike most of you out there watching this, the joke's on you, I celebrate the year of Luigi every year. Second, you end up unlocking 3 more worlds: World Star, World Mushroom, and World Flower. These 3 worlds are either remixes of older levels that make them more difficult, albeit more enemies or tougher time clear conditions, or genuinely new levels that are more difficult than most stages in the game. Most of these stages once again include 3 more stars and more stamps. Once you've done the preliminary completion of finding every star, stamp, and touching the top of every flagpole with at least 1 character, you unlock the ability to see what levels you've cleared with what characters you've done it with, meaning you can now track all the levels in the game that you still have to clear multiple times. But the big final discovery is that you unlock World Crown, which features 1 more Captain Toad level, a monster of a gauntlet in a form of the Mystery House, and the granddaddy of them all, Champions Road. Champions Road hands down is not only the most difficult level in the game, but one of the most brutal levels in Mario history. It will truly test every bit of your skill. It's long, it's difficult, and it's challenging, but I think it's the perfect way to end this Mario journey. And if you've completed everything up to this point all correctly, you'll have 5 stars that appear on your game save file, meaning you've completed the game. And if you remembered to never ever use that invincibility Tanuki suit, then those 5 stars sparkle and shine. It's basically just an acknowledgement for the player that, yeah, you've done everything, and now you're sparkly. Let's jump back to Bowser's Fury. The rewards for finding all of the shines in Bowser's Fury are a little more visible and fun. With all cat shines found during the final boss fight, Bowser's hair turns an electric neon white, which is very cool. Best of all though, there are cosmetic changes that you've earned. Bowser Jr. now becomes Cat Bowser Jr. And now whenever you have the cat suit, Cat Mario now becomes Mini Giga Cat Mario. Now again, these don't fundamentally change much of anything in the game. It's just a really cool thing you can see if you're running around the world again and again. In 2013, I was disappointed that the completion rewards weren't very tangible in 3D World. But now that I've completed more Mario games and haven't completed this one again, I can say that the journey is the reward. Being able to point to my game save and say, yeah, I did that, feels awesome. It's the same with Bowser's Fury. Everything about the game is just so right. The difficulty is on par with Mario Odyssey at the very least, but instead of collecting hundreds and hundreds of moons, the game wraps it up after just 100. And you do get to see the full painting that Bowser Jr. was working on from the very opening cutscene. And the cat-themed aesthetic across the entire game is just icing on the cake. When I re-completed Super Mario 3D World and completed Bowser's Fury, there were 380 green stars collected, spread out over levels, mystery houses, and Captain Toad levels. 85 stamps found, and even though Miiverse is no more, I appreciated messing around with the stamps in photo mode. 100 cat shines found, perhaps the most adorable collectible in any Mario game. 25.5 hours played, a way faster run through Super Mario 3D World than my original playthrough. A combination of faster movement speed in general mastery on my part, and the fact that I did a 4-player multiplayer clear with my Twitch mods that saved me a ton of time. 1,355 deaths. Now, before I hear all of you making fun of me, I want to be clear about something. On my single player playthrough, I died about 50 times. However, when you play online, the host lobby is responsible for all of the lives lost. And when you're trying to clear every level in the game with friends, it's a chaotic masterpiece, thus adding all those extra lives to my playthrough. And 2 games in 1 package. The best way to return to a classic game is to turn it into 2 games. As most of you guys know by now, I love Super Mario 3D World. I love it more now than the first time I completed it, which hasn't always been the case during my New Game Plus adventures. Maybe it's the benefit of hindsight, but I found the bold choices bolder, the charm more charming, the journey more fulfilling, and Bowser's Fury floored me with delight. I couldn't put it down, literally completing it in just a matter of hours. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, and I really didn't expect it to make me this hype for the future of 3D Mario titles. Nintendo really honored the legacy of this game and has done Mario fans everywhere an amazing favor by giving more people now than ever the chance to play and enjoy these games. Now here's the deal though, completionists might not like what they're about to experience in playing this game. If you're completing it amongst friends, you're going to have a wonderful time. If you don't have any friends, or your friends are selfish and don't want to help you with your save file, then you're going to have to do what I originally did in this video, which was play the game by yourself and just hope that you have enough patience to keep up with you. getting all the 5 stars and the shiny sheen on your game save file does feel good, and I really do enjoy that. And that for me is a personal fulfilling thing. But, and a big but, I can see why completionists everywhere are so divided amongst this entire thing. Thus, that's why I used to have the original rating of Finna-Peedit. But since then, I decided to choose my convictions and battles more carefully and more specifically. So, with that in mind, guys, I give Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury my completionist rating of Complete It.
Complete it!